Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I am Zachary Smith. For the last time, no Alan Saunders on the podcast this week. He'll be back on Monday, going right into double duty, to be honest with you. We got obviously the regular afternoon drive, and then we're going to be doing the SN Plus subscribers only live stream to kick off the week of training camp. And joining us on that, just like he's joining us right now, will be Derrick Bell, Steelers DB. How we doing, pal?
I'm doing great, man. I'd like to congratulate you on getting through the entire week.
Yeah.
I don't want to say solo because you've had, good guests to help
shout
you
out.
get through with it. But shout out to the squad for holding it down while Alan's on vacation. But you did a great job, taking care of business. And yeah, I'm excited. We are less than a week away from training camp now. I booked my hotel for training camp last night.
Wait, hold on. When are you going as a fan, or you credentialed for it?
I'm gonna be credentialed with Alan and them. Same as last year. I'm gonna be up there for Friday Night Lights through the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'm really excited about it. I enjoy getting to do it last couple of years, and
yeah. Friday Night Lights. Looking forward to that. It sounds like everybody's gonna be. If I'm able to make it work, I'll be there. Eddie's gonna be shooting for the site. So yeah, sounds like it might be like a full on. Almost like a class reunion going on Friday night.
Party.
Might have to go a little wild. I mean, it is the end of the week, so I do want to give a shout out to Aaron for coming on here, Joe making his Steelers Afternoon Drive debut, as well as Brennan Howell for coming on and making his debut over the last couple of days as well. Some very nice comments about kind of resonating the same thing that you said, holding down the fort. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't taking it like this, but I will say it's nice to see those types of comments. Obviously, I've been doing podcasts since 2017, so it's really like nothing new to me to have to kind of hold down the fort. But for anybody that has never watched or tuned into Around the 412, and this is the only thing you've known me from, I could understand why you were kind of curious as to what it would go like without Alan Saunders hanging around and letting me off the leash. But anyways, let's dive into it. DB, you did not give your thought. Well, you've given your thoughts in general, but TJ Watt signs a contract extension. I was literally going through. I was like, has DB put out a podcast? Did he do an episode? Did he put up a video or anything on his channel talking about this? And you didn't. So we got a lot of questions about that. But first and foremost, just wanted to get your general thought. TJ Watt signs an extension, making him once again the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. What's DB's initial thought on that?
Yeah, my initial thought is one for now, because Micah Parsons is about to shatter that here. Probably like 6 hours before they kick off week one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if it goes like Dak and CD, like Dak was the day of, hours before. Yeah. I didn't want to cut you off, but I was curious as to if you thought where Trey Hendrickson would fall in with all this.
I think that Trey is going to come in under Garrett and Watt, and that was always going to be the case just because he's a little bit older. But I will say that Watt's structure, which we can kind of get into, it's a strong deal. Like this was like A+ work, I felt like, for not just TJ getting his money, so good on him, and then his agent, and also just like the edge rusher market in general. I mean, for him to be able to get, it's $108 million, right? Guaranteed fully at signing. He gets guarantees like into his age, like a fully guaranteed.
The only area where maybe you could say he conceded in the team one would have been on the total years, but like that's irrelevant anyway. You're talking about monopoly money when it's not the guaranteed money. So like,
right. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. I mean, for him to be able to get, coming off of, a season where he had his lowest production output, like you look at like pressure rate, sack percentage, anything like that, coming off what is a down season, there are plenty of reasons for that, which we can kind of get into as we kind of move forward into 2025, 2026 and beyond. But coming off a down season, especially from his standards, and then to be able to get, the money as far as topping Myles Garrett and like $40 million a year, like we knew that was a thing. But for him to be able to get that age 33 season fully guaranteed is that was the sticking point.
It was a huge for anybody that's in the know at all, that was kind of where the contention was going to be, was guaranteeing 2 years as opposed to 3 years. And TJ got that third year. So, I mean, like you said, shout out to him, shout out to his agent. I will say, before we get your thoughts, I guess, further, the one thing that I was definitely very happy about was this business being taken care of before training camp, because it just kind of feels like there's no issues going into training camp whatsoever right now as it stands. Now, you're going to have something pop up. I'm sure, this is 53. Well, actually more than 53 guys right now going into training camp. But when you talk about an entire roster, stuff's going to happen. But like this feels like for the very first time, like nothing going into it at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, so part of the reason I didn't do like a reaction or anything like that on like my channel is because I just wrote that lengthy article for Steelers Now just about what TJ and what edge rusher production looks like as he gets like further into his 30s. Like I feel like I've talked and wrote so much about that a lot of the stuff that I would say would just be like regurgitated information. So I am a little bit concerned about how the contract will age and if he's really going to be able to like live up to this type of deal, especially getting guarantees into his age 33 season, knowing like what this position typically puts out at that stage of their careers. But I also think it's worth like discussing too, like, which is one thing I had Cody Alexander on my channel yesterday for, was just the Steelers defensive scheme in general and just different ways. We talked about a half dozen different ways that the Steelers defense can, kind of tweak things up and free him up for some better opportunities to rush the passer. In addition to, like, they still have, Nick Herbig as a reserve guy getting that snap count down from like 86% last year. I mean, including the playoffs.
We got questions on both the thing. Like literally, as you're talking, it's just kind of like the bullet points.
I didn't see
questions
that.
Got
yeah, I mean, I do think. I mean, there's a lot of other factors and little things that I think that the Steelers could do schematically, and things like that to kind of help prolong his career and like up his efficiency from where it was like last year. So I'm excited to see where it plays out. I mean, when I take my analyst, and this is not typically how I do anything, but like when I take my analyst hat off and look at it just from a fan perspective, I'm very excited to see a player like this accomplished, be able to like hopefully finish his career in one spot. I just think it's very rare in today's NFL and sports in general with the amount of player movement we have. I'm happy for the fans. They seem extremely excited about like him remaining in the black and gold. So all of that stuff is really cool. And like you said, the no drama going into training camp, I think is something that we can all appreciate.
Yeah, let's start with John's question here because I feel like you kind of started to dive into it. He said, with TJ now signed, how confident are you in the coaching staff being able to use him better? Would certainly be nice if he wasn't on the same side of the formation every play of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the part of it for me that is probably going to be most up to him. I feel Terrell Austin's been doing this a long time. He's not an idiot. And I don't think Mike Tomlin's an idiot either. I think those are two very, very bright individuals when it comes to defensive football. I don't think that they haven't thought about those things in recent years. I think it's been one of those things where TJ's production has always been so high that it's like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just let him do what he does. After last year's kind of decline, they have to be more creative. I think that you mentioned like moving him around more. Like you're seeing a lot of these elite pass rushers, Garrett, Parsons, guys like that, be more willing to go into the A gap, the B gap, rush over the center, get them one-on-ones with some 5-0 looks, move on the left, right side to make it harder to know where he's going to be at pre-snap. So I think those things are things that TJ is going to have to be willing to do. We'll see what that looks like come training camp. I mean, we probably won't get a really good look at it until the regular season, I don't think, because I mean TJ's not going to practice like every day in training camp. He's a vet, so it doesn't need it. So
hey, Friday Night Lights though, as you mentioned, like that's a setting where they'll like they recognize that the fans are more into that. Yeah. That practice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's just a lot of other stuff. And if you really want like full in-depth detail, you can go watch like that video that me and Cody talked about it. But just different things in terms of like, they're going to have to do things like more nickel pressures, blitzing the tight end, trying to get him to, maybe drop him in coverage a little bit more. If they're going to be willing to, dedicate a tight end to his side to chip him every time, we'll drop him into coverage, then blitz the opposite. If you're going to have a bunch of line slides to his side, you're going to have to take advantage of some opposite pressures and do some different things and probably increase stunt usage. I mean, there's a plethora of different ways that you can do it. And I'm looking forward to seeing if like they have the answers. Cause I mean, NFL offenses and offensive coordinators, they saw what it did to not just like his production last year, especially down the stretch, but the Steelers defense, like when he wasn't making an impact down the stretch, like they got lit up. So it's not good enough to just say, oh, he's taking account for 2 guys on offense and we can go play 10 on 9. Like that's not good enough, especially when you're paying a guy the most money in NFL history. Like that's not going to be enough. So.
This conversation's been going on for a while in terms of like the creativity up front.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like I'm really harping on things that go back like multiple seasons now, but especially when you're going into a season where we're talking about trying to move guys around more. And I'm not saying we don't have, that Tomlin's not capable of implementing stuff and Terrell Austin isn't either. But this is where, again, I go back to how important I think it would be if they added a senior defensive assistant that has the front seven background to kind of give them more of a mind for that type of stuff and has done those things in the past, and they could get more exotic up front. Again, we knew Brian Flores was not going to be for long here. I don't think the mistake was not retaining him. I think was the mistake. The mistake was not replacing him when he left.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're on the same page. Same thing we talked about really. I think it was last week on the pod. We kind of mentioned this, just the infusion of different ideas. And Cody and I actually talked about this too, like just different what defenses are doing around the league. This is something that I've become really interested in over the past several years of doing this, is just trying to figure out, and this is what NFL coaching staffs are doing like during the offseason. They're trying to figure out, okay, what were the most successful defenses doing last year? What can we take? What matches like not only our personnel, but like our base defensive or offensive philosophy. He mentioned like the Texans, like stealing some stuff of what they're doing. I think really the two best defensive minds in the game right now, in my opinion, are Flores and McDonald. McDonald has, there's definitely stuff that you can steal from that, from the sim pressure world. So
I thought you were going to say Spags. He's got to be.
Spags is the most accomplished. I think that he's probably like the OG of that. Like he's definitely still up there in like the elite tier. But just some of the things I'm like looking at, like just some of the numbers last year from like how some of these defenses were really like getting after the quarterback and stuff like that. You look at it, the Seahawks last year, for example, right? Like the Seahawks were 6th in pressure rate, okay, and they were 6th in sack percentage. Obviously, we think that they have some good players on their front. Do we think that they're more talented up front than the Steelers are? Right. I don't think that that's the case. You know what I'm saying? And like, even when you go look at it from like a blitz percentage standpoint, it's not like they were like blitzing like all out a bunch of 5-6 man pressures where it's just pure chaos. You're going to give up a lot over the top. Like that's not really McDonald's system. Like you're getting a lot of sim pressures, you're getting some creative looks and things like that. And even some of their blitz stuff resulted in interceptions on the back end because just the fear that it was putting in quarterbacks. They had a sick pressure that led to a pick 6 on Rodgers last year that I still remember. They had a guy drop out from the defensive line to pick off a slant pass and then took it back from the house. I think it was Leonard Williams. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to pull from. So that's probably the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to seeing is like what they do with Ramsey, because I think that, Ramsey's infusion into the defense.
Next question, by the way.
Yeah, it could also free things up for Watt, just because you can almost work like some like 1-2 man tandem stuff up front, assuming they get like more nickel stuff next year. So
Omar Construction Inc.'s question was, is the slot position more important in Mike Tomlin's defense than free safety? Does having a guy like Ramsey in the slot free up TJ Watt at all?
Well, we just talked about the second part of that. I think in general, slot cornerback, and this is like a take that I've had over the past really like 3 years, probably one of my best ones as far as like how it's aged is just how important the slot cornerback position is. Like you look at some of the best defenses that have kind of risen to prominence over the past 3 years. It's really been the defenses that have went out and got like an impact player that can do multiple different things in the slot. You look at Detroit with Brian Branch, Kyle Hamilton. Those guys played a little bit more safety last year, but we've seen their defenses be like at their peak almost when they're up near the line of scrimmage. Cooper DeJean's, him being taken by the Eagles last year, really once he got into the lineup around like week 5, 6, that defense was like by far the best in the league. And even like you mentioned, Spags, like having McDuffie.
Yeah.
Some of the different things that they did with McDuffie earlier in his career.
McDuffie's still obviously a good player, but when they were able to use him in the slot,
he's a better player in there
because a healthy L'Jarius Sneed. I don't know what to make of that knee. Like, is it just they might have made the perfect decision to move on when they did? We'll see. But Yeah, it kind of changed his role a little bit. I still think he's a very good player, but like at his best when Snead was healthy on the outside there and he was playing mainly in the nickel, it was.
Yeah, it's just I think that the days of having like this free safety that, where you're going to be exclusively playing single high, like the Legion of Boom era days, I just think that those are kind of over with. And not that like Minka brought more to the table than just that. I just think that having a slot player, there's just a better chance that they're involved in more plays. I mean, it doesn't really take much more analysis than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like all the different responsibilities.
Did you? So I know you reposted but did you look at the replies before we start talking? Because like every one that I'm like pulling up, I'm like, all right, this will be the next one that I bring up. You end up talking about.
Maybe me and the Yinzers are just like uber connected. Okay, because
my guy LA said here, should the expectation be that Ramsey will produce more turnovers than Minka has over the last few years? I mean, more than one in the last 2 years, I would hope so.
He better.
So yeah,
he better. I mean, if you just gave up a good free safety, and then you're the contract that Ramsey comes with as well, he better. But like, I mean, I think
the turnovers are one thing, right? But it's just like impact around the ball, even because like 100%. Minka's it's and honestly, I'm not saying that it was the case all the time, and it certainly wasn't just on Minka that it was the case, but it pretty much seemed like for the last 2 seasons, his entire job was just keeping the lid on everything. And like, if you're paying that position what you are, like you can't. There's got to be more to it. You got to have more diversity to the game.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we're kind of in lockstep with that. I mean, the thing about the turnover production in general is, man, it can just be so fluky. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like those interceptions could be tip passes. It's the right place, right time type of things. I do think that that's worth noting. As it relates to Ramsey, though, I'm optimistic that if they played him more in the slot, I think that you would see like more like quote unquote like stops, like plays that result in a negative outcome for the offense. Whether that's negative EPA or anything like that. Just because what Ramsey's going to give you is the ability to match up with different body types. Kind of be able to be flexible with teams like the Bengals that like to move their best player into the slot. You're not going to feel like you're so overmatched or that you need to be predictable on the back end because you're scared of like a mismatch in there. And then just with Ramsey too, like his ability to take on blocks, like you can play more nickel. They played nickel on like 3/4 of their snaps last year. It's probably going to go up, I would assume, to probably like upwards of 80% if I had to guess, just to get your best 11 guys on the field. So yeah, I would hope that there's more impact plays. I'm very bullish on like some of the stuff that they were doing with him as a blitzer. I'm
12 pressures last year.
I'm very interested. They had some really unique, like 2 deep, 4 under type of pressures that I was kind of looking at that I think would be really easy adds to some of the stuff that the Steelers are already doing defensively. So, yeah, I mean, I've said this multiple times, like since he's been acquired, but I don't think that there's not enough athletic decline for me to think that he can't play corner, but I think that the potential for Ramsey in this defense is really only limited by a lack of creativity. And that's really how I'm going to feel about it until I see him decline athletically. And I just don't really think that there's enough of that to where he can't be a really impact player as a slot corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Keyshawn here said, who's a player that everyone is high on, but you just don't see why? Ooh, it's just a spicy one.
Are we talking about Steelers players?
Well, I would assume, but I guess it doesn't have to be. He left the door open, I guess, for it to not be.
I'm trying to think.
I have 2 answers to this. One of them is a specific. One of them is a specific part of his game. I love Darnell Washington, but for the people that think he's like
because you hate
they're
Darnell.
Not getting the most out of him. Yeah, I hate Darnell. They're not getting the most of him out as a receiver. Like there's some super like untapped potential there for him as a receiver. I don't see that vision. So I was kind of tweaking the question a little bit because it's certainly not about the player in totality, just the idea that some of people have about what his game is. The other one, and this isn't to say he's a bad player, but just based off where he was ranked in a certain ranking that came out this week, Patrick Queen.
Yeah. I don't know that I have. I'm trying to think about like what my wildest take would be. I mean, I'm not gonna just sit up here and repeat the Jonnu thing over and over again because you hate Darnell, I hate Jonnu is what people are gonna say.
Yeah, that's fair.
I literally had somebody comment on an older YouTube video. This is like 3 weeks ago, asking me why I hated Jonnu Smith. I saw that yesterday.
It's all about just fanboying for our guy Pat. We hate every other tight end on the team. That's what it is.
I haven't seen that as a reason, but people probably do think. I mean, I'm sure like people. Not that I mean, there's literally nobody that cares less about what other people think than I do, probably. But
yeah. Hey, listen, I just realized from our comments on last Friday's episode that apparently not everybody that watches or listens to the show loves DB. I saw some
people are not people. What I've kind of accepted a long time ago, since I've been like doing this in general, is just like there are a section of people that do not want unbiased commentary. They don't want people's viewpoints to not align with theirs, even if they have their own reasons for why those things.
And hey, that's their choice as a fan to like
100%
put on the blinders. But then why are you watching the content?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean.
Well, like, there are other YouTube channels and analysts and beat writers that they can go watch, and they do watch. That is all like rose-colored glasses, and like that. If that's the type of content that you enjoy, 100%. Yeah, I just don't. I'm never gonna do that. Like the one thing that I can always promise is like it may be positive, it may be negative, but it's 100% like how I feel like, and I'm gonna have stuff to like back up why I feel like that. So if you disagree, that's fine. I'm not trying to change people's opinion either. Like that's something I always say. There's a lot of people that I follow. I mean, hell, me and you we don't even agree on everything, right? Like there's certain things that you like more than I do, whatever. But I respect your opinion. We're not going to try to like change it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean,
it's just weird.
I think that even like just on Friday, like, the TJ thing happening now is funny because just last Friday, I feel like we had a conversation where, not necessarily a disagreement, but you were wondering where my opinion was coming from, that like signing TJ went kind of aligned with everything else that they did.
Yeah.
Like trading TJ in this timeline didn't make sense. Like had they decided before, trading for DK Metcalf and doing everything else, that was the direction they were going to go. I don't know if it's what I wanted them to do, but you could have like made the case that was a path forward for them. But
the funny thing is though, is people that want the rose-colored analysis, they want the biased commentary. Again, if that is your type of content that you want to consume, by all means, brother, you go get it. But it is funny to me because I'm on Twitter during the games and after the games, and I see the same cats complaining about stuff that we talked about months ago. So it's hilarious to me. It's like, weren't you like making fun of us for like saying, hey, this might be a problem? Like, it is funny to me. But what were we originally talking about? Oh, players that were high on. I mean, Jonnu would be probably the easiest answer for me. Yeah. I don't know how it would be any different.
I want to actually just to put a bow on that idea before we move on to something else. So basically $5 million. If the Dolphins would have been willing to give him a $5 million raise this year, he could have still been in Miami. Does it surprise you that they didn't do that based off? I know how you feel about Jonnu as a player, but specifically there, we saw how well that it went. He was a really good fit for what they do. I was just kind of surprised that like if that's all it took, they weren't just willing to do that.
Yeah, I think for them, it makes more. This is going back to like what we were talking about with TJ last week. For them, it would have made more sense to sign Jonnu because they don't have another player like that. They don't have another receiving tight end that they could trust to go do those things.
They had Darren Waller come out of the studio.
Yeah, the Steelers already have that. So that's kind of the thing, is like diversifying your skill sets on offense. And even I think from Miami's standpoint, I didn't even see the $5 million thing you're talking about. So that does kind of surprise me a little bit. I think their thought process is like, we have better weapons. We're expecting those weapons to be like healthier this year, or like we're expecting the offense to be better constructed to where we can push the ball down the field a little bit more usage for Waddle, more usage for Hill. He's probably, because we've seen him now, like he's been a pro for 7 or 8 years now. He's never like once gotten close to this type of production, we're betting on that that's probably not going to be sustainable. Whereas, but yeah, I mean, I definitely think it would have made more sense for the Dolphins. And to be very clear, if the Steelers didn't have Pat and they would have made this same move to go get Jonnu, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I talked about Jonnu all offseason last year when I was studying the Falcons offense. I was like, hey, like he is a useful player. Like he does a lot of gadgety stuff. Like he can help your offense. It's just the matter of like getting them both on the field, getting enough production out of them, not just in the passing game, but being able to be an effective, efficient rushing offense with both of them playing the majority of the snaps. I have concerns about what that'll look like. And we'll see if that ends up being, correct or incorrect. We'll see this year.
Yeah. I said 5 million because so he was set to make 4 million this year. He's now making 9, and then the 7 million next year is not guaranteed at all. So like,
okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah.
So they, for $5 million guaranteed, they could have had him this year and then cut him after this year or whatever. It didn't go well. But like for what he was providing, 7 million next year might be a great number as well.
Yeah.
So who knows? Yeah. I don't know. But it's just interesting to me that for what he provided, that they were willing to let him go for that and not sign him. But anyways, we'll see how it plays out here. Matt, sticking with the offensive side here. What are expectations for the offense if they don't sign a wide receiver too, with questionable offensive line and just a top wide receiver with not much behind it? I worry this offense is one injury away from disaster.
I mean, if DK goes down, it's going to be the same, kind of worst case scenario that we talked about all last year with Pickens, right? We saw the offense kind of, crater down the stretch. Some of that was without George too. So yeah, DK's health is a big part of that. I mean, luckily DK's played through some stuff, but he's been like a mostly healthy player throughout his career. He takes incredible care of his body. He's only, 28 years old this year. So, I mean, I'm not super worried about that, but freak injuries do happen. I don't think that anybody would sit here and argue that they have good depth or a good receiving room right now, even the most biased of fans. So, yeah, I mean, it's a significant concern. I mean, my big thing is just the offensive line. Like, if the offensive line doesn't take us a notable or a sizable step forward, it's going to be difficult for this thing to work, even with DK, to be honest with you. Like, they can't finish near the bottom of the league in rushing success rate. They're going to have to be able to, Rodgers at this stage of his career is literally a statue in the pocket. So they're going to have to be very good in pass protection. Having Arthur Smith's offense, like with how play action heavy it is, and him willing to give the tackles, help, that's going to be hopefully a good thing for them. But it's going to be an adjustment for sure, and they're going to need some steps forward for Broderick, and Fautanu is going to have to be the player that really I think he is, or else they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I put this take out there, I think, this week when somebody asked us about the offensive line. I don't know how you feel, but to me, it's the group on this team that has the biggest variance. Like the ceiling and floor are so separated for what they could be. I think by the end of the year,
because of the youth.
Yeah, you could be talking and the investment that they've put in it. Like, I think by the end of the year, you could be talking about like a top 10 offensive line, or you could be talking about an offensive line you need to turn 3 or 4 spots over on. Like, it's just incredible how far away the ceiling and floor is of that group. And to me, it's like the one group when I look at this team, I could say that about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think it just goes back to like the youth, and Fautanu is like probably the biggest wild card for me, because I think that I was talking to Brandon Thorne about this a couple weeks ago when we did the offensive line preview, and like he was saying, like he thinks that their ceiling is probably somewhere in between, like around like top 12 ish, and kind of in a similar range to what you just said. And that's even probably including the fact that, he and I both are pretty skeptical about the Broderick Jones thing, like really panning out the way that it, like even to him being like like average left tackle, like throughout.
Yeah, I mean, if he's a little bit better than like Dan Moore, if Fautanu is the player that we think he's going to be, if Frazier continues on the trajectory that he's going to be, like that to me would be enough for them to be in, like, Mason McCormick again. Oh, honestly, could he have been a good answer for that last question? Like, understanding that he was a 4th round rookie and he exceeded expectations for that. I think people were a little bit too high on the way he played last year. So maybe that could have been.
Yeah, that's probably a good answer. I always think it's really tough because, it kind of goes back to the Broderick thing. Like Broderick's tape his rookie year, when you compare it across tackles, his rookie tape was better than his sophomore tape. But it's easier to talk yourself into like one, there were more high-end flashes. And then 2, it's like, okay, he's a rookie. We expect him to be bad. Well, in year 2, it's kind of frustrating. Like when you don't see development, but you see regression instead, that's kind of the sticking point right there, right? Especially when the regression is technical based, like he's not making those type of improvements. But yeah, I mean, even if like let's just say like Broderick, like if he gets back to, I think as a rookie, he was like slightly above average run blocker. If he gets back to that and then he becomes well, let's call it below average, inconsistent pass blocker, and he's the 22nd best left tackle in the league or something like that, this offensive line will be better because I really do believe that much in Fautanu. I believe that this group really can do some things in the run game too, if that's the case. I just don't know if it's going to be based on like how rough last year was, but we'll see. I mean, like you said, it's the biggest wild card. It's also like the biggest point of interest for me, honestly, offensively, because I probably don't have the same season long expectations that like many like of the fans do, but like I do think that their development up front it's the most important thing for me, honestly, as far as like what I'll be tracking all season long.
Think about it. Like we're so tunnel visioned on the QB thing in 26, and not to say that we shouldn't be. Obviously, you got to throw that dart. But like, if this season's disastrous on the offensive line, I'm not saying we're going to have a different conversation, but should we think about having a different conversation about dropping a rookie quarterback into that spot? I mean, if Broderick is so disastrous where you feel like you got to turn that left tackle spot over, that's typically a position where if you want to do it, you got to take early.
Yeah, you got to do it first.
Yeah. How do you kind of navigate that process then?
Yeah, you'd be going down the, spot where a lot of teams end up in free agency, which you end up having to pay like guys that really are baseline starters. I mean, look at what the Chiefs had to do. Like the Chiefs had this, I mean, obviously, yes, the organization that just went to multiple Super Bowls, but their left tackle situation was such a disaster. They missed on Kingsley Suamataia. Is that his name? Yeah. He's like barely played. Like they barely played him last year because he couldn't get on the field. I think that's who it is. But they missed, and then they have to go give Jalen Moore, who was the Niners like spot starter swing tackle. They end up having to go give him like some crazy contract. It was like
3 years.
Yeah, $15 million a year, and like the dude's barely played. Like I think the kid's talented, but like he's never played, and like that's the type of thing that the Steelers would have to do out of desperation next year. If Broderick doesn't at least show that he's like a baseline starter, because I think almost at this point, you're removing, like at that point, you're removing the whole like he's a first round pick. We can't get it. We can't, draft over him. We can't give up on him yet. And like you have to start thinking about what's the best thing for this rookie quarterback that we're going into. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
That's what's so interesting about it. They're trying to thread this needle with the offensive line in general, where it's like you got to see what you have in these dudes. But they didn't provide much insurance for this season if it didn't work out.
But I do think that's the right call. I don't mean to cut you
off.
Like,
no, I agree. But it's like, yeah. I mean,
it has its risks, but I do think it's the right call because of what I said. I don't think they're really going to be contenders this year. I think they're going to be pushing for a playoff spot. Hopefully, maybe they can, get a good matchup or something like that. But like, I do think that this team should be looking at developing their youth, especially up front, seeing what you got. Because like at the end of the day, we just had a conversation about McCormick. I think his tape from last season, I agree with you. It's definitely been overrated. But at the same time, it's like, could they have gone out and gotten a guard in free agency that's a better player and probably could like give them more in 2025, 2026? For sure, but okay, what is that really going to do for you?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, are they
going to go deeper in the playoffs because they did that move? No. And then if McCormick does pan out, you have a cheap starter for the next 2 years, and then you kind of go from there. So, I mean, I don't know. I like that approach this offseason at least. So.
Sure. I mean, that development is more important than anything else that's going to happen because you're also, again, planning on dropping that quarterback into the situation sooner rather than later. The last one I'm going to get to here from my guy, Steve. I know where this conversation is going to go, but Steve, I believe, just joined up to subscribe this week. So this is the first time he asked question one to make sure it got on here. With all the new additions, do you think that this is a make or break year for Tomlin? So this is funny because you can look at this from both avenues of the extremes, but like the answer is very simple, that from an organizational perspective, absolutely not. The fan base perspective, right or wrong, has been yes every season for a long time now. In the organization's perspective, right or wrong, for a long time now has been no, not even close to being on the hot seat. So regardless of the way that this thing goes, the answer here is no. Whether to say that that's the right or wrong decision, but again, my whole thing has been, I want to give him the shot on the next quarterback. Like, and I understand people could say, well, that was Kenny. That's not what I'm talking about here. Like sitting at 20, picking a quarterback, like the next guy that we have hope actually could be a franchise quarterback. And it's, kind of the same conversation with Omar. Right. But, yeah, that's, we know that Mike Tomlin's not on the hot seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Art Rooney the second will be on the hot seat before Mike Tomlin.
Someone asked me a similar thing when I did the mailbag last week, and about like the moves that they've made. Is Tomlin going to be on the hot seat if things don't go well? And like, I think that we've just got to keep expectations realistic here with some of the things that they've done and some of the weaknesses that they still have on the roster. He's not going to be on the hot seat. Mike Tomlin's going to be the coach of the Steelers until Mike Tomlin doesn't want to be the coach of the Steelers anymore. Like, I don't know how else to say that. And I understand that, like, there are probably, like, this offseason was, like, really the first time, I think, ever since I've been alive that I advocated for the Steelers to, like, hit the reset button across the board. But
dude, the 3-game loss in December of 23, that was the first time where I was like completely indifferent on the direction that they went. Like,
yeah. I would say like that really is the first time that I've ever been like, yeah, like they need to, this team needs a new direction. And they didn't go that route. They got older, and we'll see like how those results like play out this year and like going into the future. But I do agree with what you're saying is if you keep like you've kind of dug your, I don't want to say dug your own grave, because that's just implying that this doesn't have like, there's not a positive outcome
they dug their heels into this.
Yes, that's a better expression. Yes, they dug their heels into this. So like, he's going to be the head coach. I do agree with what you're saying. The worst thing that they could do, in my opinion, other than just like flat out miss on the quarterback, which, probability and everything already implies that that's difficult to do. I think the worst thing that they could do is keep Tomlin, draft a quarterback next year, and then move on from everybody a year after, because it just gives me like Chicago Bears flashbacks. Like, they do that all the time. They take a young quarterback, happened with Justin. Then you get new voices in the building. Like, you're trying to rebuild a culture, doing different things. Like, I just think for young quarterbacks, it's so hard for them to succeed. And the biggest thing, like, I have no doubt in my mind that like Tomlin's like one of the best floor raisers in all of football. I think the ceiling is going to come from, he probably needs a little bit of a wake-up call on the offensive side of the ball and like what actually wins in the NFL right now. I think they need to find an offensive coordinator that matches that philosophy. I'm not 100% sure. I mentioned this last week. I'm not sure that Arthur Smith is that guy. But I do think that if you draft the quarterback next year, like, he needs to be able to see it through. And like, what sees it through means is like 2 years. Like, they need to give him. So really, bare minimum for me, before you can even start having this conversation internally, it's probably 3 years from now. And at that point, I would assume that Tomlin probably just gets to the point where he just says, I just don't want to coach anymore. And that would probably be like the biggest frustration for me, was like if they got to that point and then he walked away and it's like, we have nothing to show for these last like decade, but that would be disastrous.
Well, the timeline that you're talking about when you could finally feel like you got an answer on the quarterback is kind of like going back to the conversation with everybody up in arms about the Omar Khan extension. It's like, I understand people feeling like, did it need to happen right now with so much turnover? Let's see how 2025 went. But he was always going to be the GM to draft the quarterback and get to see what that at least looked like. And you're talking about the second year. So it's maybe 1 year, 2028. Where he has an extension through, where there would have been some uncertainty whether he should be here. So that's why, to me, it was, a non-conversation or something to not be upset about.
Yeah, the Tomlin conversation is just like, it's almost, it's just funny to me because I forget who it was. I think, I don't want to like, it might have been Mike Renner, who I think Mike Renner historically, like, really good with the NFL draft stuff. I didn't watch the video, so don't quote me on this. But I saw,
if
like,
you're talking about the thing that was this week, it was Mike Renner.
Okay, so he said something about like, this could be like Mike Tomlin's like last shot or something like that. Maybe you watched.
Yeah, that's how you know he got to this point in the offseason.
And I'm just like, guys, like, we don't see job security like this in the NFL.
It's special, yeah.
Ever. And it's not gonna change. Like this is just how they do business. Like you can if you want to get on the radio or I can go get on my YouTube channel, we could talk about it on here about whether they should have moved on, whether what that would look like. That's fine, but just getting up there and saying that his job's in jeopardy, it's just so far from reality.
He said if they don't go 500, it's gonna be it. And to me, I'm thinking they could go winless.
Yeah. Brother, it's just so out of touch. It just you can't follow this team and understand that that's the most likely outcome. It's just not going to happen. So, regardless, it's just a non-conversational point that we talk about for whatever reason every offseason.
Yeah. But hey, I understand it's content and even more so now than ever on that specific platform, the engagement matters way more than ever.
Oh, yeah.
You literally get paid by the amount of people that see your posts. So this
for sure.
Yeah. You just got to be cognizant as you're scrolling on the app, be cognizant of, maybe the reason that something's being put out there.
Yeah. And it's no secret that we have just seen a heavy influx of all of these different media platforms putting out these lists. I just went on a rant about this recently about the quarterback list. They put the cool little graphic that they had an intern make. They put the list out there. There's a sentence that says so-and-so's top 10 quarterbacks enter in 2025. There's no link to any type of discussion. There's no criteria on how they're judging these guys. There's nothing opinion based. They just literally put the names on the list, say, here, y'all go argue on it. We'll take our 100,000 engagements in the first hour. Thank you for paying us. And y'all are wasting all of your time. That's literally what it is. And it's so successful on social media. It cracks me up.
I mean, in Steelers fans, as a Steelers fan, I can say this. We are easy to get. They know. Yeah. They know if they say anything about this. Wait, hold on. This legitimately is ridiculous, though. They put out the best defenses since 2000. 2008 Steelers not represented in the top 10. Throw away the list.
Crazy.
Throw away the list. None of it matters.
That's so crazy, man. Yeah, that's nuts. That is funny, though. I mean, I don't know. We're just in that time. This is definitely, I would say late June, early July is my least favorite time to be a football fan because there is just so much garbage content out there that it gets to the point where my screen time right now it's the first time ever I felt that I'm getting positive notifications hey, your screen time was down 27% this week. Hey, that's good. Usually during football season, it's you're spending X number of hours.
Yeah, they'll shoot back up.
Yeah, but I'm just ignoring everything other than stuff. I'm just trying to reply to as much stuff people responded to my stuff, but there's just so much
the TJ stuff was bad. Yeah, the TJ stuff was bad too. People trying to, whether you wanted them to or not,
it was inevitable. It was gonna happen. It was gonna happen.
Got people throwing out trade scenarios and all this stuff, and it's congrats on the engagement, I guess. But
yeah, whatever.
What are we doing? Anyways, long episode here on a Friday. Of course, this happens a lot when it's DB and I, and a lot of questions that we didn't get to. So when Alan comes back, we'll certainly be sure to check those boxes and make sure that we get to all these questions at some point down the road. I know my guy Richie DM me one, actually, definitely one that we want to get to next week. But DB, the drill. Before we get out of here, tell people they can find you and get the work.
Yep, at Steelers_DB on Twitter and YouTube. You can find all my written work at SteelersNow.com. I've got a bunch of stuff up there right now. I just wrote about Juan Jennings, potential Juan Jennings trade. A lot of stuff on that. Doing some training camp previews.
What's funny is we were just talking. I wonder how San Francisco 49ers feel about stuff like that being put out. Do they feel how we're talking about from not to the level of TJ, obviously, but
at least you can understand a little bit why they would do it from their perspective. I will say now that both
he's got them backed in a corner. Yeah.
Pearsall being on the pup is not the pup. Is it the pup?
It is.
Okay, yeah. Him being on the pup is not great. I mean, Ayuk was always the guy that, right. He was probably going to be a guy that's going to miss the first month of the season. But yeah,
actually, maybe a positive development that he's on the pup right now, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was I can't remember who it was, but there was some maybe the athletics guy saying that like there is like an outside shot that he could be ready for week 1, which seems crazy to me, but maybe.
Yeah, somebody I know that covers them like independently, I believe, put out something similar. Like there's some like positive vibes around it, and they're not going to say that that's the case, but like it's not a 0% chance that he's ready to go from week 1, which would be crazy, but we'll see.
I will say
I just feel like Jennings has them back in a corner right now.
The Jennings thing is interesting because with him being his age, and like I've seen some stuff floated around like for contract stuff, like saying that he wants to be paid in like the Cooper Kupp range, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself like, Cooper Kupp's 32 years old, Jennings is 28, and Jennings was better last year. Like,
yeah, 15 million. That's like people were talking like 20 plus.
Yeah,
and that's where it kind of gets tougher. But like,
I agree. Just because you got the 1 year of like big time production, and
I mean, he's the underlying numbers have always liked him, but like last year a lot got put on his plate and he answered the bell, but it was just
I think the biggest
like 1 season of production.
The biggest thing going through the film, and like I said, I think I wrote over 12, I think it's like 1,200 words, mostly scouting stuff just from going through, but I did not expect him to be as good of a separator as he is, like at his side, just because how damn slow he is. I mean, the dude moves like it's crazy. But I
just think he really understands space. Like,
I mean, it really is the old adage of slow is smooth is fast, and that's how he plays, man. Like the dude does get open. Like he has some limitations for sure, but as far as a fit with the Steelers, I mean, I know you guys covered this earlier in the week, but I mean, they couldn't if they do move him, that you couldn't ask for anything better, because he brings the contested catch stuff, the first, second level route running, the toughness as a blocker. Like those are the 3 things, like you would say, like if you're trying to get somebody inserted in this receiver room that has a bunch of speed, you've got another big body that can play X and win versus press. That's the guy. I don't know if the Niners are going to be willing to play ball. Especially with the injuries that they've already got on the roster, but fun conversation though. We'll see what happens.
When I told everybody to go get DB's work, by the way, I meant his actual written work and the videos and stuff. I don't want you to fight with him, so that's not the work that I was talking about. But that'll inevitably come probably from those. But anyways, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here on YouTube. We crossed 16K this past week, so appreciate everybody subscribing over here. That's totally free to do, but be sure to subscribe to SN Plus as well. Join in on Monday's live stream. I don't know if it's just going to be the 3 of us, but definitely me, DB, and Alan will be here as we get ready for training camp. I don't know if we're going to have any other guests with us or not, but they're a lot of fun. Basically, a Q&A setup. The live chat kind of provides how the show's going to go, so we'll have some fun with it. Be sure to subscribe to SN Plus and join in on that. If you're listening somewhere else right now, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing over on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH. For Derrick Bell and myself, thanks for jumping in, taking the ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.